Okay. Hello everyone.
Welcome back to the Michael Lowe
Welcome
channel.
to my few but faithful followers. I have some very special guests today. Two people who I become very close to amongst college, and one person I met today. So Faridah, Michael now, and Wing. Thank you guys for coming on the channel. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah.
Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like, and make sure to hit the bell to hit the notification button, and that way you never get a missed video from Michael.
And don't forget to comment below and tell us your favorite part of the video. This is a conversation channel, you know?
Smash that like button. And that subscribe button. Smash that like button.
Okay.
See, it becomes ironic after you start doing that, and then after a while you're like, oh man, this is actually becoming the channel.
I know, it's so cringe. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's like, it's not that I like want to do that, but then I realize I have like maybe like 20 views a video. So it's figuring out.
But if that 20 views all subscribe, that's 20 subscribers. That's like probably 100% increase at least.
Yeah.
Very true. I can make like $1.
Yeah, and those 20 subscribers to tell 2 of their friends. There'll be 60 subscribers.
Okay, so grad school.
This is the grad school episode.
Should we start with our programs and where we...
Yeah. So,
go that way.
I guess the reason why this group of people are joined together specifically is because these three have gone through or are going through grad school programs, and so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about specifically today, going to postgrad. So I guess to start off.
I'll start. Hi guys, my name is Faridah, and I graduated undergrad with Michael in 2018. And then I went straight into grad school for the Master of Occupational Therapy in the Rehab Medicine program at UW. So I just went from undergrad campus to the medical center. And that is a 2.5-year program, but because of COVID, it took me 3 years. I just got my degree yesterday. Woo! All right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Michael. Do I say my last name?
If you want.
Okay, Michael C. S-E-A, not the letter C, because some people think it's the letter C. Should I say my pronouns?
Do whatever you want, Mike.
Yeah, I use he, him pronouns. I graduated in undergrad from UW in 2020, and I just recently graduated from my graduate program from the Construction Energy Sustainable Infrastructure program at the University of Washington, actually not a few weeks ago, excuse me, last week. And yeah.
Nice.
I'm Wing, hopefully future OD, eye doctor. I go to the school in UC Berkeley for optometry. I graduated from, the Bears. I graduated from UW in 2019 and then took a gap year and started 2020, just like your vision should be. But aside from that, I have a 4-year program, so I'm on year 2 now, and it's been rough.
So me and Wing kind of have more like a medical focused program, while Mike had like the engineering. And was your program in person?
It was more all online.
It was all online, yeah. So we had like in-person classes, so it was rough.
Gotta touch eyeballs to learn about eyeballs.
I touched human bodies and brains to learn about human bodies and brains.
Great. And I guess for the sake of continuity, I'm Michael. I am hoping to go to med school, as a lot of you know. Did not get into this last cycle, so currently just trying to figure out what to do before I apply again, whenever that may be. So yeah. I guess just to start off, how was the grad school experience for you guys? Or is it, generally speaking, yeah?
Ooh, I'll let Michael first.
Okay, so the grad school experience. Let's see. So generally, I think it was kind of like a more intense version of undergrad, where I had a lot more work, but also they were a lot more lenient on deadlines. They told me every project when it was due, and they were also for some reason my professors were a lot more lenient when I asked them for extensions, which was nice.
That was like my program too.
Yeah, and it's I feel like it's better than undergrad at times, but also harder. Better because like there's a lot more leniency and like there's a lot more professors that are a lot more understanding about a lot of situations, especially during COVID. But also a little harder because there's a lot more work, and also my graduate program was a lot more writing and like reading more than the math part of engineering.
You guys are on quarter system, right?
Yeah, we're on a
for
quarter
grad
system
school as well.
Yeah, so we're quarter system, and I think for full time at UW was about 11 or 12 credits, so it's less than undergrad.
Yeah, it was like 10 credits for me.
10
full-time.
credits, right?
Yeah.
Did you go to the UW program?
Yeah, I went to the
Yeah, you went to the UW program, yeah. Wing, are you on a semester?
Yeah, it was a
Good Lord.
transition. It went from 11 to maybe 12 weeks to 16 to 18 weeks, and it's a test at least every week, and it's rough. But it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of coping.
Yeah, so how many classes did you have during a semester?
5 a semester.
5. And
But-
it's like big topics. Huh?
Yeah, big topics. 3 of them are full semester, and then 2 of them switch halfway through the semester. But the good thing, at least for the second semester, was a lot of the topics between all 5 classes were interlinked. But the first one was just straight up like your brain is in one place one day and then has to be in a completely different place the next.
Same with us. I think for us, like, about like the second year is when everything started making like links and connections to each other. At the very first, you're just like, I'm here to be, I'm an anatomist today. And the next quarter, I am a neurobiologist today. And the next quarter, I have to be a kinesiologist specialist. And only in the second year, you're like, okay, this is all making sense and like connected to each other. But it was also very just like big topics. And yeah, you have to switch every other hour to remember things. It was a lot.
Switch methods of thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What kind of spurred you guys to start the graduate programs in the first place? If there's a reason besides work.
For me, it was in high school when I did a rehab medicine program. So in high school, we just kind of helped out with the rehab, the athletic trainer. That's who she was. And then we just kind of helped her do like rehab with the athletes, student athletes, and we were at games and we just like ran on the field when someone got injured. We're like, are you okay? Assess the scene, things like that. And like, I absolutely like loved it. I love just like working with people every day and just doing small things that prevents them from big injuries and explaining that process. And so I looked into like what rehab could do and like therapy. I didn't want to be an athletic trainer because I was short, and like when I was stretching out the football players, they're like, their legs were as long as me when they're on the floor. So I was like, maybe I'm not really meant for that. And I didn't like standing outside in the rain during the football games. So I was like, what about an office job? So I looked into PT, like physical therapy. And when I was in high school, physical therapy switched from a master's to a doctorate. And I just didn't want to be in school that long. And so I talked to my teacher, the athletic trainer, about it. And then she told me about occupational therapy, and she sent me an email to the school occupational therapist, and I met her and I loved what she did. And so when I went into college, I knew I wanted to go to occupational therapy school, which is a master's program. At most places, they're kind of switching over to doctorate. So I recently got my master's, which is great. So I don't have to be a doctor, but other places are switching over. So I went into college knowing that I wanted to go into occupational therapy. So I went to psychology because it's one of those like pre-tracks you could take that gets all the prereqs, because there's just prereqs, so you kind of don't have to be in a major. And then psychology, found out I really loved learning about culture and stuff. So I got into medical anthropology, and then somehow got into the program right after college. I kind of just applied just to apply, and if I didn't get in, I'll be like, whatever, I'm just gonna try this anyways. And I was waitlisted first, and then when like kind of like the deadlines to submit like your fees and like commit to other colleges and stuff came by, that's when I got off of the wait list, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm going here, because UW is a public school, so the tuition was much lower. Originally I committed to a private school here in Tacoma at UPS. It was like $100,000 I would go in debt to go to that school. So I was like, yeah, no, I'd rather go to UW. So that's my journey. I always knew I had to do extra school after undergrad, and I knew that I would just keep doing it until I got there, because I always wanted to be here in this field because it's fun.
public school being cheaper is not true.
Well, you're.
for graduate programs,
It's not.
not at all.
I live with my parents, and I still commuted, so it's just different. You know, I think if I had to live near UW and pay for everything, yeah, I think it would be way more expensive too.
Yeah, my public school tuition's $50,000 a year for the first year.
Yeah.
And it only goes to 40 after that.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's like private school level.
Yeah, it's like $300,000 after I'm done.
How I got into the grad school program, it was like, so after I like graduated from UW and my bachelor's, I was like looking for a job during COVID, and I couldn't find any jobs. I almost got this one job for a company in Bellevue, but then they never got. I got interviews. They said they liked me, and then they realized they didn't really have that much work for me, so they kind of ghosted me afterwards. Well, not really ghosted, but it would kind of like. Man, we're gonna sound like a breakup. We drifted apart.
We drifted
You mutually agreed to stop talking.
We drifted apart. I said, man. And yeah, it was like, man. I saw like, out of context, this sounds like a breakup.
You professionally broke up.
And then like, I decided to go to grad school, but deadlines was like passed in May. However, they extended it till July because the college engineering at UW, they kind of understand that like everybody's future is kind of like uncertain, and so they like reopened for like master's degrees, and also I think they needed some more money, so that is like mutual benefits for both of us, and that's how I got to my like grad school program. And I've always kind of wanted to do grad school just because like my parents was pressuring me, and my entire family was pressuring me, and also I just like wanted like a master's degree just for the sake of having a master's degree.
You wanted the title?
The prestige.
Yeah. The prestige.
Are some of your cousins and families, do they have masters and doctorates?
Yes.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm the first one in my family to have a master's at all, so
First-
no pressure.
Yeah, I'm the first to get a doctorate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cousin in Seattle, he has 2 masters now. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm like surprised by that. And yeah, I think like the most we ever gone was masters, and my parents kind of want me to get a PhD, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's a lot of work.
I don't like writing.
And a lot of money.
That's a lot of work, a lot of money. But it's not your money.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Oh yeah, and I don't want to do a doctoral defense against a bunch of
Yeah.
professors.
That's true. Yeah.
Like 4 of them like ask me questions. I'm like,
About anything.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing about PhD programs that I don't get. It's like, oh yeah, it's time to defend your thesis. And I had one TA, Victoria, bless her soul, but she was like super stressed leading into it. She just like, all right, everyone gets leniency for their final because I'm prepping for my defense. So let me just go ahead and like just start grading your papers.
God bless her.
But basically, she was talking about how she was talking to one of her PIs, which will be on the adjudication board for her defense, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna have a rough time, but you'll probably do fine. She's like, you're the one doing it. What do you mean I'm gonna have a rough time? She said that the questions can be anything from her last 20 years of education. So you could be asked simple questions to throw you off so that you can like not be thinking about what you need to answer the next one. Because you have to know almost everything about anything that you have possibly
That's fucking
gone
annoying.
over.
Yeah, I'm just like, no.
It's like, you ask me about organic chemistry, like asking how to balance these equations. Nah.
Yeah. Were you able to go to her defense? I went to one of my TA's defense too, and I was just sitting there and I'm like, God, I'm nervous for her. You know?
No, we don't have those. I think they're like small departmental things, like specifically only faculty attend.
I see, because yeah, they open it to, I think, because we're part of the program, so we're allowed to go watch and like ask questions. But we were just like, yay, that's our teacher, because they teach us and everything. But yeah.
Also, in terms of people who are overqualified or like have a lot of degrees, we have a teacher at Berkeley, Dr. Liu. She was an ophthalmologist in China, but she's an OD, MD, PhD, and then she's also a fellow, and then I think she's on a different board as well. So she's got like 4 to 5 qualifications specifically.
Her name must be so long.
Oh yeah, and she has all of the title on her profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, she seems a very knowledgeable person though, and she seems nice. So
That's good. That's good.
yeah. Oh yeah, so for my program, I decided to become an optometrist in high school, kind of like Faridah, but it was a little bit more simple, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, I was like, I have to figure out a job that isn't like an accountant or something that I can get with just real world experience, or else it'd be a waste for me to go to college. So I did biochem because it lined up with all the prerequisites, but in high school, I talked to my ex's doctor, eye doctor. I was at an exam with her, and he was just talking about his lifestyle. He was like, oh yeah, I make like $300K a year, but I live in an apartment, I live kind of frugally, but I get to see my mom every day, and like all of this. And I was like, oh, family is very important, and I think I need to have that kind of balance. It's like, yeah, no one in my field is ever really stressed. I'm like, that sounds great. You know, I want to see not super sick people. Like occasionally,
That's true, yeah.
Occasionally you'll get people who are like, oh, you're about to die, you need to see the emergency room, and we're like trained for that. But the majority of people, it's like, oh, you're here to see me? Like little kids are like, oh, I want to get new glasses. I'm like, all right, we'll do that for you. So looking at it, I was like, so I can either go into medicine and be very stressed, or I can go into dentistry or pharmacy and be still pretty stressed, or not stressed as an optometrist. So.
And then you went to school and you're just like, when do I not be stressed?
Yeah.
When does the stress-free life come? Because I'm like, bro, I thought you were like stressed out right now, dude.
Yeah, it was very stressful. I think the other thing is that for me, at least when I was in middle school, I got my glasses for free. So like I want to help people and do the same kind of things. I've been doing things like Bosch, which is kind of the same kind of program where we give people free glasses. And we do the same thing at school as well. So I've been participating in that. So you just have to leverage your wealth to create change. So, yeah, that, and also because I can make eye puns the whole time. And I like eyes.
You have to be in love with eyeballs. Like when I think of people who are like dentists, I'm just like, y'all have to be comfortable with mouths. Because I look at mouths and I'm like, yeah, I can't live my career there.
Yeah, you have to like love eyes. I have an eye model in my place. I have posters. I painted an eye for a paint and sip night with our school once.
Wow.
Like there's a lot of eye stuff around
lots
everywhere.
Of eyes.
Do you have buildings? Do you have models in your house?
When I was in high school, I like built like a bridge out of popsicles and like manila folders, and I've lost them. I lost them all. I think my parents threw them away because I just put them under my bed, and my parents found them.
Like this going to garbage.
You're like, is he an engineer? No.
I'm gonna say the popsicle bridge. It was pretty trash, so I understand my parents throw it that way.
My cousin's an architect in Boston. He keeps all of his models that he builds.
Yeah, because you
like
have to build a lot.
He's like, oh yeah, this was a good project. I'm gonna keep it in a wood crate and then never open it ever again.
Yeah, those things are huge. I've seen because I have a few architecture friends, and I'm like, good lord, it looks like fun, but not as a project, not to be graded on.
Yeah, no, God.
Shit ton of cardboard and glue.
Especially when they do it out of concrete and like actually make it out of the material.
Yeah.
They're sitting there like they were like pouring concrete this tiny and you're like, that does not look fun.
You know, it's what they love.
So meticulous.
I don't know. I just like separating like the work that I'm about to do in my room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm that kind of person.
Now that's the other thing. Did you live at home when you were going through your master's program?
I lived in my cousin's place as one of his tenants.
I see. And then Freya lived at home. Yeah. Did you ever purposely make a separate workspace for yourself? Because for me, I live in my room, and my room is also where my desk is, so I cannot separate work from pleasure.
I tried. I usually try to study on my dinner table or something, but there's also distractions there. My parents are there. They also my niece and nephew sometimes comes over to be babysat, and then they're running around screaming. So it's the only place would be my room, and then it's hard to separate pleasure from work. And so when COVID came and I had to do online Zoom classes, that was freaking terrible because it's just you're on the computer, you're in class, and then class is over, and now you're still on the computer, and I guess I'll go on Facebook. And then, the next class, I guess I'll hop back onto class. It's it's hard to separate the boundaries, and it was terrible. But got through it. I want to, but yeah, there's not really a good space in my house to do it. But I learned that if I just use my brother's gaming computer, it works. So I've been on my brother's gaming computer for telehealth because my last rotation was at a school district, and all the therapists and supporting staff were allowed to go back in person. We had to support from Zoom and online. So I just used my brother's computer also because it has the fastest internet. My internet sucks up in my room, so Yeah, so I use that computer, and it's helpful, but it's also still on Facebook on my computer. It's hard. Yeah.
Like you said, I did say I like separating it, but I never do because I always work in my bedroom. I hate working in my bedroom.
You like it as a theory,
Yeah.
not in practice.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? You still want to be a doctor?
Yeah, still doctor. I mean,
Since you were a kid? I feel like that's one of those like childhood dreams.
med school.
Yeah, why do you want to go to med school, dude?
Yeah.
When did you want to go to med school? I feel like I wanted to be a doctor when I was 5.
Yeah, me too.
Still your dream at 25.
Still my dream at 25.
Are you 25?
I am 25.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm an old man.
Yeah, right, because we're both 25. I'm like, I'm turning 26, but I'm like an older kid, so.
How old are you?
23, probably 24 in a few. Actually, yeah, in a few weeks, 24.
Yeah,
I'm the
so,
youngest.
so Wing's the baby. Wing's always been the baby.
Yeah. I feel like I have a pretty like typical, like stereotypical Asian story. Like growing up, my parents were like, "Yeah, you need to be a doctor, make lots of money, take care of us."
Doctor engineer.
Doctor, engineer. Yeah, it's kind of funny because like when I was graduating high school, my parents were like, "Yeah, you don't need to be a doctor if you don't want to. You can also be like a lawyer or an engineer." I'm like, "Okay, mom, I'll take a doctor. It's okay." Yeah, I think it was like very pushed on me, I guess. Like all my toys were like fake doctor's equipment and like.
We're gonna influence this man so much.
Yeah, like
he's gonna follow these doctor
The
roles.
subconscious subliminal messaging is constantly nagging at him.
It's like an anatomy poster in your room.
Yeah, I was like, I got sick a lot as a kid. Nothing serious, but like, I was always in and out of the doctor's office, and so every time I would go, my parents would be like, "Hey, Michael's trying to be a doctor. Do you have any advice for him now?" I'm like, "Cool."
Now you're like committed.
Now I'm committed.
I'm 5.
Yeah, and I would listen to everything the doctor says, and I would like be very interested in it, even though I couldn't understand it because I was 5. But like, I think that priming definitely like affected me going into like middle school and like high school. I started to grow more of an interest in medicine, biology. Whether or not that's my own interest or like the result of being pushed into it, who knows? But interested nonetheless. And then in college, I started thinking a lot about how I wanted to impact the community, how I wanted to help people individually, and like kind of what was the best way to do that in terms of all the different aspects of my identity, right? As a male, as a Khmer American, as a Christian, all these things. Like how can I use these parts of me and like my talents and my interests to like really help people in the most holistic way I can? And doctor was kind of the thing to do.
Doctor.
Yeah. I think also at this point, I'm just like so deep into it. I kind of want to. It's like I don't really have anything else I would rather do. I think I would apply to med school and try and get in, even if I didn't want to do it anymore, just for the sake of saying I could do it. But yeah, so in it for the long haul.
Yeah, it's a lot. Being a doctor is a long haul in general.
Yeah.
Never stops.
I know. Every time you talk to a doctor, they're like, "Yeah, if you could picture yourself doing anything else besides medicine, do that instead." I'm like, "Cool, thanks, man."
That's kind of too late.
Yeah, not too late now, but
Does your prereqs not really apply to any other programs besides?
You can do optometry.
Yeah, right. Isn't
We
it
talked about
similar?
this. I said my school accepts MCATs and stuff, so he can always jump ship and come to join the dark side. We have a lot of cool people, and it's stress free.
It's stress free. You have a job. You like glasses. Can you run your own clinic as a?
Yes, you don't even have to like sell
sense.
glasses. You can work with an OD/MD practice where you're like consulting patients before they do like surgeries and things like that. So you can work deeply with MDs.
Yeah.
So there's options.
There's options. If you want to go on the medical side, I know there's the neuro. Do you guys do like neuro stuff too?
Yeah, we do neuro.
I remember learning in OT school because we work a lot with like vision. There's MDs who specialize in vision, and then there's ODs who specialize in neuro. And those are the two people that you kind of have to talk to. One is better to talk to if it's like with pediatrics, and one is better to talk to like adults. And I was like, what the fuck? Can't they just agree with each other? Because it's like it's in like the hospitals or something. Because it's all about like strokes and like trauma and like brain injuries, and like who do we go to when we think there's like issues of their vision? And there's like two people to go to. And I was like, nice.
So ODs will specialize in VT or vision therapy, which OMDs or ophthalmic medical doctors
There,
don't.
there they are.
But OMDs will do everything else.
Yeah.
But if you're like some people, if you want to do a medical path in a hospital and you're like, maybe I can do ophthalmology as an MD, then you can always become an optometrist and then just work in a VA because it's almost strictly medical.
That makes sense.
Because most
also
people
trauma.
that go into those places are like either have like diabetes or glaucoma or something. You're constantly treating medicine or medical issues, and you're like referring people like, all right, you have to go get surgery. Come on, you're about to have a stroke.
Yeah.
You know, or like the other thing is, as an optometrist, we get a unique view because you get to see the nerve and the vasculature.
That's so cool.
Like exposed.
Yeah, it's the.
So you're sitting there like you're literally watching someone have a stroke, and you're like, okay,
Yikes.
I'm calling 911.
Yikes.
Yeah, you can literally see it if someone has a stroke in the chair, but the stroke is far enough forward in the eye, you can see it like slowly lose color over time.
Because
But
it's running out of blood.
yeah,
right?
but you just as soon as you see any signs of it, you just call.
You're just like.
You're calling it. You're like, all right, you have to go now.
Yeah, because it's like the shortest. It's like the most direct nerve is your eye nerve to your brain, and everything else takes a while to get there.
Except for your nose.
Oh yeah, the nose is also one of the closest ones, but you can't really look up your nose
Yeah.
and be
Yeah,
like,
you
"Here's a
can't.
stroke."
But yeah, if you want to join the dark side,
I'm thinking about it. I think.
I'm thinking about it.
I mean, like I said, I don't think I'd ever want to do anything besides medicine, but I think at the same time, I talk about this a lot, but it's like, I feel like when you know you want to go on a path that involves, especially one that involves like a graduate program from a young age, you're like, very narrow-minded or narrow vision and like very set on that thing. And so once you hit your first like roadblock, you're like stuck and you don't know exactly where to go. I think that's kind of what happened to me too. Is like, yeah, I didn't get accepted, and it's like, well, I've spent the last however long, 25 years trying to do this thing. Now what do I do, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I chose to continue with medicine. But at the same time, I think I need that kind of flexibility. Or I've learned that I kind of need the flexibility as well. And see, well, maybe I've been on this path for so long, maybe it's time to check out something else, see if I like something else better. So if I wanted to be like OD or go to teaching or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, flexibilities. They always look for that in your resume, being flexible. But hey, we survived a pandemic, so that's gonna be on my resume.
I say,
Yeah.
it's a little. I gotta say, it's a little frustrating to. It's a little frustrating. I mean, I understand like the frustration because like working like that much and then like getting like just denied is always like a horror. It's always like a horrible feeling to go through. And I wish like there was. I wish like a lot of schools, medicine schools, they just like accepted a lot more people because like isn't there like a shortage of doctors?
Yeah.
Why are we like being that selective? Why are people being that selective then?
Yeah, I'm just like, shortest of doctors, shortest of nurses.
Shortage of almost everything.
I think it's partially like the American medical system not being able to keep up.
Yeah.
Like it's not a shortage; it's just an overage of patients.
Yeah, that's true.
And then also
Overage of sick patients, because
Yeah.
people don't constantly visit their doctors to make sure
Yeah.
they get preventative care. They just show up when they're about to die.
Yeah, that's the issue. They don't get preventative care.
Yeah, they don't get preventative care here,
Yeah.
so it's harder. That makes sense. Yeah, and there's a lot of like laws too, because also on like the rehab side, a lot of like Medicaid, which is kind of like the people who really set all the rules for paying, at least on the adult side, is like changing a lot of rules so that like therapists don't get reimbursed that much. And so in some settings, therapists are being laid off, and I was like, well, can't go into that setting, it's a hot fire. And maybe another setting, oh, that's also a hot fire. Well, I guess we could go to this setting, but then you're not being paid as much. So it's like, kind of like in between, but you know, I'm doing what I love.
The only industry that's not a hot fire is the private industry.
Oh yeah.
For medicine.
And I can't do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
like, yeah, the
private
money's
practices
tempting.
with no insurance ties or anything. 'cause-
You're just serving really rich people who could pay out of pocket.
yeah,
And
almost
so,
like concierge medicine.
And so it's like that's for people who want money, and I'm like, no, I want to help my community. it's hard.
The private medicine just sounds sketchy.
No, private medicine is like some of the best medicine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, private medicine is like only people who can cash pay is allowed to
Oh,
like
I
have
see.
it.
I see.
Yeah, so it's very skilled. It's on demand.
Yeah, that's the other thing I think about, like accepting more people for medical schools. I can see the case for it, but at the same time, you have to have at least a subset of skills
Yeah.
to get
Like
there.
a standard quality.
Yeah, because I think that for like education, there's definitely a level of minimums. Because if you don't understand how the human body works in general, I wouldn't want you to understand how it works in depth, like on the cellular level. Because if you have like drug interactions that don't go well or things like that, it's very dangerous very fast.
Yeah, being a doctor, you got people's lives in your hands. Being a therapist, you're just helping 6 people that the doctor told you to help. So that's why I like this field too. I'm not going to kill anyone. Well, it depends on what field I go to, but it's the less likelihood that I would get sued as a doctor, because doctors get sued really often. That's also why, like, doctor shortage. Doctors get sued really often.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to
that too.
Michael's point, going back to Michael's point about just like having that narrow mindset of going through. You when you hit that first wall, it's a matter of like finding a way over it or through it, like just brute forcing your way through. But the other thing is, once you're through it, sometimes you hold yourself back with imposter syndrome, which I think affects a lot of people.
The imposter syndrome is strong for me. What about you? I mean, it's still strong.
I mean, I was not a strong
Less.
candidate, and somehow I got into Berkeley.
Yeah, I was waitlisted, so it really felt like I was in imposter syndrome the whole time. I'd be like, well, I wasn't picked on the first round anyway, so do I even belong here? That kind of shit. I'm like,
No, because there was definitely, at least for when I applied, there was a lot more, I think, more capable and qualified candidates. And the thing is that the school will tell people who didn't get in how to improve their thing and what their scores were, and like how basically where they didn't do well. But if they did get in, you can't ask that. They won't tell you your scores or anything. So you're just sitting there like, this doesn't make sense. I don't know why I'm here. So the whole year is always like, yeah, so this person's doing this, they're doing great, they're having an amazing time, and my dumb ass over, sorry, let me just restart that, and
You can swear, it's okay.
okay, and then, and myself is just sitting there like, so, I don't know what I'm doing, guys,
yeah.
I need help.
Hey, C's get degrees once you're in grad school, okay?
No, it doesn't.
Not in this program.
No, my program is you have to get a B, not even a B minus, you have to get a B to
Oh.
pass.
Okay, I mean, yeah, technically us is B minus too, but some of the classes, C's get degrees, except didactic, like standard core.
Undergrad, C's get degrees. Once you're grad school, you gotta put that at least the B level.
At least
you know?
a B for me.
Like I said, levels of minimums, you know? You have to hit that minimum B level.
Yeah.
The good thing about grad school is that they grade more easily.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, the material's harder,
Yeah.
but it's a little easier to get better grades. Just because it's like, if the teacher sees that you're going to fail this assignment, they'll approach you and be like, hey, you just failed this assignment. Do you want to talk about it? Like, what do you not understand? At least some of them will. Not all of them.
Some of them.
Man, it's a little random about like doctors getting sued. Are most like laws from surrounding medicine? Are they from like legislative, or like, are they from like the courts, like common law?
Common law that basically dictates, like, generalize how you can run your practice, how you can run medicine. But then there's legislative for specific, like, special cases. Like, if you want your state specifically to be able to do LASIK for optometrists and not optometrists. You know, so people have the associations and the coalitions that go and lobby for months and months and months just to try to get one bill passed. Like, in what state is it? A state just recently legalized finally giving people like glaucoma medicine.
Huh.
I don't remember which one, but like 60 years ago, we weren't allowed to even put like eye drops into your eye. You had to go to a medical doctor for that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's also kind of why physical therapy went towards being a doctorate degree, so that physical therapists could diagnose like injuries and stuff, and then they could prescribe their own treatments. Because like as us as OTs, we're masters, we can't treat something unless the doctor approves of a diagnosis, and then they'll tell us that you can go ahead and do these types of treatments. Like we can't just assume. I mean, we have our own skills too. We can tell when someone has like this diagnosis, and we just have to communicate with the doctor about it. And you know, some doctors are nicer than other doctors. Some doctors are like, "So are you the nurse?" And I was like, "God damn it!" It's like,
No,
yeah.
I was gonna ask, like, would you say then OT compared to whoever the main therapist is like kind of like the nurse-doctor relationship, or do you think it's a little more amicable compared to that?
It's a little bit more amicable. Yeah, I think it's just most of it. We like to describe like the PTs are like the quarterbacks of the therapist team. Like everyone knows who the PTs are because a lot of times they work with mobility. So they're the ones who get the patients to walk again if they could walk again, while occupational therapists, we're the ones who work on activities of daily living, such as putting on your clothes, using the bathroom, cooking meals for yourself. So it's like those basic skills are what like we as therapists work on. So after like a big injury, we'll like brainstorm, problem solve ideas on how this patient can continue being independent, which isn't, you know, super mainstream and like viral as, look, he's walking again after therapy. But for versus like, look, he can make a peanut butter jelly sandwich again. You know, it's like, it's not as like super viral, but it's still very enjoyable for me. It's very like worth it. But yeah, just like the communication with doctors, I think it just really depends on like what setting you're in and where you're at exactly. One of my rotations was at an inpatient rehab in like the neuro setting, and so OTs are pretty respected in the neuro setting because it's a lot of recovery happens through OT therapy. But when it comes to like other settings, a lot of the times they're just like, oh, you're the nurse that like plays games and like dresses the patients, and I'm just like, you don't really understand what we're doing, do you? So it just really depends on like what setting you're in. And I think for me also, like one of my things I look forward to in a job is just trying to find a place that kind of like respects my position and understands what I do, because it's very hard to find places that understand what I do. And I'm just like, this career has been around for like 80, 90 years, and I'm just like, nobody understands it still. It's kind of crazy, but hope I can make the change towards it. I just always tell everyone I'm an occupational therapist and like introduce myself for like 5 minutes about what I do, and people are like, oh, I see, and I'm like, yes. Ask me again later.
See, when people say I see to me, I'm like, yes, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what we want you to see.
I see, you're like, good, it's working.
People are just like, I see.
Yeah, there's a lot of eye puns.
I love it. Yeah, I need to find more puns too.
What do you think is going to be like the moment you're like, like you decide, oh, I finally made it? Like, what's the like the defining moment? Because like my defining moment in my head is like I finally see my first patient. Like that's like the, oh my gosh, this is real. This is happening.
Like your own patient out, like outside of rotations and everything.
Like once I have a job and I'm like sitting in the office, like I like wake up in the morning, I'm there, and they come in like, Dr. Chen, here's your first patient. I'm like, this is the moment.
Ooh, that might be. I don't know. That might be my moment too. I feel like. Honestly, I think my first, like, my big I made it moment, because I feel like I never really wanted to, like, work. It's like I wanted to work so I could live. So I feel like my biggest moment will be when I could finally pay for my own vacation, that kind of thing. It's like not looking forward to the work part. Looking forward to finally paying for my own vacation and, like, take my kids out and everything like that. It's just like when I'm like, yeah, I'm adult. Yeah, or when I get my first like thank you card or letter or email from a patient after I discharge them, and they'll be like, this is what I'm doing now. Because you get that a lot when you work in like adult settings, patients who like come back and tell you, this is what I'm doing, thank you so much, you changed my life, la la la. That's when I'll be like, I made it, I'm helping somebody, I'm changing people's lives.
You frame every single one.
Every little card,
you're gonna have no space in your walls.
Exactly. Well, most of it are emails, I think, or cards, I don't know. We'll see. I'll just keep a little box and be like, huh, my box of thank yous, my gratitude.
I guess for me, assuming I become a doctor, I'll probably be the first day when I'm doing all my charts. Because
the documentation.
That's very realistic. That's very realistic.
Very realistic, yeah.
Because it's like,
and nobody could do it.
Because nobody can do it because I won't have a scribe. Because I used to work as a scribe, so it's like for me to like be able to like sit down at the end of the day, or not, and do those charts.
Bring it home.
Bring it home, sure. I'm like, man. And just think back, 10, however many years ago, I used to do this as a job, do this specific thing as a job, and now here I am. I could possibly have a scribe. Like I'm doing this documentation myself. Like I'm now in the position that I looked up to when I was doing this back then. And so, yeah, probably for doing that documentation.
Your first reaction is gonna be like, you're gonna sit there like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. This sucks.
This sucks.
Yeah.
This was so fast. This is so much faster when I was like 18.
When I was before my carpal tunnel for being in doctor school.
When I didn't have to do doctor shit.
Like I have hand braces.
Yeah.
Like everything hurts.
That's me, yeah. I think another one is like when I reach it is when I could finally take on my own student of therapy. That's like when I'm confident enough to teach someone, you know? Because I think everyone says like the first few years out of school and you're practicing on your own, you kind of don't feel like you got it for a few years. So I think when I finally take on my first student, I'll be like, I mean it. Because I would love to take on a student. I love like teaching the next generation and mentoring. So one of my goals is to have a student in the future. But who knows? Whenever I feel like if they ask me a random question, I would be able to answer it like that. The doctor thesis, I'm like, I don't know. So that's also another moment for me. That'll be good.
What would be my moment? Oh, when I'm like driving, I see a building.
Like, I built that.
And then like, I start annoying people with that. And then they're like, oh, shut up, Michael.
Stop. You're like, hey, those steel beams,
I did
3/4 inch thick.
Yeah.
I know that because I built it.
I helped build that. I did that. I did that.
That's funny. I did that.
And just people just shake their head like, shut up.
You ever think people buy houses with good views of their own buildings? Because I can just imagine someone with a decent house in like Bellevue looking towards downtown, and like whoever built like the W Hotel buildings just sitting there, like everyone is like, damn, I did a good job.
Sipping your coffee every morning. That's my work.
Be like that building paid for 3 of these houses.
Does what you study change like how you kind of view everyday interaction? Like Mike, if you're like sitting in traffic, you're like, man, the civil engineering here sucked. Like I have to change this, and this.
I do that. I'm not even an engineer.
Yeah.
100%.
I do that. I'm not an engineer.
I remember like when I was like interning. When I was interning, I had like a coworker that was an urban planner, and they like kept saying, "Man, Seattle should not have been built. Seattle should not have been built. Like Seattle was not a city to be built on. Should have been Tacoma or Bellevue.
We knew
not
that.
Seattle.
We knew that."
I think the other thing that changes a lot is like social media interactions.
Yeah.
Because like for me, because of how much I talk about and look at and like just research eyes, everything that's on my feed is eye related. Like, oh, here's this disease. Here's this
Because
disease.
Mr. FBI notices and sends you everything.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh yeah, here's this new medication. And like sometimes you'll read things or you'll read something that someone says and you're like, that's absolutely wrong, but I'm not gonna comment because I'm not their doctor. And like, there's moments where you want to tell them you're wrong. Like, the biggest one I think that I've seen the most on my feed is like my old friends saying, oh yeah, my grandma says pee in your eye and it'll get rid of your blepharitis. I'm like, I want to tell you you're making a mistake, but I'm not going to because it's not my place.
Yeah. They're like, maybe not. Try something else.
Yeah, I think I've learned to like hold my tongue more.
That's good.
As a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help though. It doesn't help. It just makes you pent it up.
For me, when I'm in buildings, not an engineer, but when I'm in buildings and I see that they're ADA accessible, but it's not functional, and I'm just like, how is the disability community going to access this building and use these functions of the building? Like, because that's like part of our job also as therapists. It's just like, how do we advocate for like the people of disabilities community? Because there's like ADA laws, but just understand those laws are very recent. They're like a few decades old, and they like barely make it so that anyone could go in, but it's not functional. You can't turn a wheelchair around, or this sink is like it's low enough, but there's a cabinet, so they can't fit a wheelchair under it, those kinds of things. So I go into buildings and I'm just like, this is not accessible at all. Like, how are they catering to our underserved community? So that's like one thing that changed for me. Another thing is also with like occupational therapy, it's a lot of like problem solving, which makes me very creative, but also a lot of things I see and I'm like, this is inefficient. How can I make this efficient? Which is also, I kind of like think of occupational therapy as like life skills engineering. Like, how can we make people's lives easier by problem solving, building things, adding things to their lives? And so when I see things that are inefficient, I'm just like, how can I use duct tape and like popsicle sticks to build something to make it an easier fix for their lives and stuff. So I've added a lot of like easy life things into my house just because I'm like, this could be more efficient, it could be easier, this is easier for people to use, those kinds of things. It's only in my mind also. I don't like say it out loud. Like, I'm just like, it's just gonna be in my head. There's no point in me being like, you should get this and that, because it will make your life that much easier. Because some people just don't really understand.
Yeah.
They're just like, but I've been doing this my whole life. And I'm just like, not when you become an elder and disabled. But okay, you keep doing that and call me when you need me. So that kind of thing is what's kind of like changed. A lot of it also is just from the therapy point of view, at least in the occupational therapy field, it's very white centered. And so just understanding that from my standpoint of like OT therapy, it's very white centered. I can only imagine what other fields are like. I know like, you know, like physical therapy and stuff, like in our program, they're like trying to be more inclusive and diverse. But I know like even in like the med program at UW, they had like a sit out when we were in undergrad. Remember that? And I forgot exactly what it was, but I think it was related to diversity and like a professor being...
Oh, one of the economics professors, yeah.
Something like that.
About black students.
Yeah, about black students. And then people had to sit out in the med school like hallway and stuff like that. And I was just like, so that was like 5 years ago, you know? And I'm sure the med school probably teaches one diversity class now out of the 4 years of stuff. So I can only think about like how this country also just works on white-centered dynamics and systems to work with people, and just thinking, how can I change that? And how can I focus it on my community and things like that? That's what I think about a lot too. Yeah.
I think another like big change is just the emotional aspect of it. It's like, at least like during and especially like fresh out, like right now I'm on break, but I just can't stop thinking I'm not doing enough. I'm not like,
yeah,
because you're always like ready for the next test. You're like go,
Yeah.
and then like something's like time to relax. You're like, relax. What?
Relax? You mean like for a few hours? You mean like take a nap and
like,
then come back?
Yeah, like look at my phone for about 20 minutes and then get back to study? What?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so like these last few weeks it's always been like, okay, I gotta figure something out to do. Gotta go out, practice. It's always like in my head, like I gotta go practice. And then half the time I'm like, I have no patience to practice on, so just don't practice.
You have to learn how to relax, yeah. My program was straight through for 2.5 years also, so it's supposed to be, but then I had my break for COVID and I was like, well, because COVID was stressful, so I was just like, I'm not gonna do anything. I went through a shit ton of stuff in my last quarter. It was also like the Black Lives Matter movements happened, and that was when I was just like, God, this program is so white. This program is not here to support anybody of color. They're only here to support cute little white girls who want to go take care of cute little white kids with autism. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like super stressed out that spring quarter. So I was like, I'm gonna pass out for 12 weeks. And I did. Watched a lot of anime that summer. But yeah, I get you, it's really hard to relax. Because grad program really like amps you up to work so hard. Like, I cannot imagine how much work I did in grad school. And now I look at my schedule now and I'm like, how did I live back then when I did full-time class, part-time job, and I took 2 hours on the light rail train to get home and back? And I'm like, wow, who was she, you know? But I think that's also why I just collapsed at the end of my program. It was just like, yeah, I take a break now.
I think for me, I get really interested in like other people's like ailments.
We can't help but tell you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're a doctor? Can you tell me about this? And you're like,
I know, it's so funny, but it's like, I think that interaction, that's why when you ask them about your eye, I know, it's the funniest thing ever. But
your pina colada.
I have a pina colada in my eye.
No, you don't, well, one, it's not a pinguecula. You don't have a pinguecula, it's just a freckle.
It's a freckle in my eye, guys.
Yeah, it's just a little freckle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, people just can't help to be like, I have this,
Yeah.
or my grandma had this, or like my great granddad had cataracts and he died from diabetes, but like,
You're like,
unrelated. Can you look at this thing?
which I find very funny and I find very interesting. But it's like, even on a really simple level, like I'll help out at the donut shop, and like my parents went to the donut shop and I help out. I'll go see a customer come in with like a splint on their wrist. I'm like, oh man, what happened to your wrist? This is like a fusion, which is like a fusion ray, or like did you like hit it on something? What kind of surgery did you get done? Like all this thing. I end up just like staring at their wrist the whole time. And I feel like almost a little of like, I'm almost a little afraid that I'm like offending them by staring at them so much. But I just like can't help it. And then it takes a lot to like not ask if they're not telling me already.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like you said, when for like customers that have known me for a while, they'll ask me if they do get injured. They'll ask me like someone like hit like their dog followed their eye and asked me to check out for them. I'm like, well, I can check it for you, but I'm not a doctor, so.
I ain't a doctor yet.
Looks okay.
I can check.
Yeah, I know a guy. Also, I tend to get a little defensive now, especially with medicine, like insurance and like medical costs is another one, is like a really big one.
Yeah. There's a lot of policies we got to work on.
Yeah, it's a lot of policies and stuff, and it's like people complain about it a lot, which I understand. I think I think healthcare in America is like ridiculously expensive, and like the people who are in charge of it don't know anything about medicine and all this. Like, I think it is messed up, but at the same time, because doctors are the ones that are kind of on the front line, and the patients are the ones who get the blame for it, even though they have nothing to do with it. And so I tend to get a little defensive there. I'm like, well, it's not the doctor's fault. There's like all this stuff and all this other crap, right? And like, I think as someone who always say stuff like, oh, well, as someone who doesn't know a lot about medicine, I don't think you should have the right to complain about it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think you necessarily need the right to complain about having to pay a bunch of money to survive. So.
Yeah. So it depends on the field, I think, as well, because some programs, or not some programs, some specialties doesn't require much. They're very well paid, whereas other specialties require a lot of equipment or are kind of underpaid.
Yeah, you got a lot of equipment.
Yeah, we have
That's right. I told me how much you paid. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I have a lot of
I
equipment.
had to buy like a protractor, and that's about it. It's just to measure joints, you know?
Yeah, like opening, like especially if you're a, what's it called, like a qualified health center, a QHC, or something that where you are allowed to take Medicaid and Medicare. The reimbursements are super low.
Yeah.
And certain insurances will, like for an eye exam that may have cost you in terms of time and like equipment and all of that, like over $100, they'll give you like 25 bucks.
Yeah.
You know, so it just depends on the field, I think, as well. Like I personally think that radiology, with how expensive the equipment is, okay, it makes sense, you know? Like, you have a several $1 million machine pointed at me, and if someone kicks it on accident...
yeah, I get it.
GG for that machine.
Yeah. Yeah, my headset is $3,000.
Wow.
But if I drop it, it's still under warranty. But if I drop it without a warranty, I have to buy a new one for $3,000.
Yeah, no, we don't have that kind of equipment. We buy our equipment off of Amazon. We buy our equipment off of Amazon.
I bought my first BP cup.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
We have one at my house too, yeah.
Yeah, I bought my first BP cup.
Is it automatic or the pushy one?
I got a pushy one. I was like, I have a stethoscope from Soraya. So
Oh, perfect, yeah.
Learn how to do it manually.
Yeah, I just got an automatic one. I was just like, well, my parents are gonna use it. Might as well make it automatic. I can't always be there to take it for them.
Yeah, that also brings up like another point of automation in medicine. Like they're like, oh yeah, I can do an eye exam on my phone. I'm like, no. no. You know, we can do better than that.
Yeah, that's the one thing that it'll never be automated is our clinical reasoning, because you cannot teach AI clinical reasoning at all.
Yeah.
When I get like vision insurance, which clinic do you go to?
I'll do it for free, man. Just show up, I'll do it for free.
He's like,
It's on video.
He's like, I'll do an exam right now.
I got you on record, I'll do it for free.
Put your cup away if you need to.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
It's not beer. Sorry, Mom.
It's water.
It's water.
It's
Water.
It's tea.
That's what they say it is.
You can try it.
No, I'm good. That's also like, I guess that also brings up a point of social life in grad school.
Oh, yeah,
I feel like
social life.
we've all kind of suffered a little bit due to COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Suffered a lot.
I think that I had the benefit of being in a program that like had constant COVID testing, and we were all like the same amount of stressed and unhappy. So we all just kind of socialized anyway.
Yeah, and you lived near campus, like you lived on campus,
Yeah,
right?
because a lot of us are out of state.
Yeah, because I live off campus, so it's just like after the program I had to go home anyway, so I'm just like, well, bye guys. I don't have time to be friends with you, so I just went home.
And no social life in grad school. We're just going down to
No
Tacoma.
red solo cups.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I
at
just went down to
least
Tacoma. That's what it
I just had my friends from undergrad that I just kind of hung out with. I just feel like once you get older, you kind of don't have like 50 friends at once. You kind of have like less than 10 that you see once a month and hang out and chat and crack a cold one, you know, with your homies.
Y'all playing like
AKA pop a bubble tea with them.
Y'all plan like a week ahead for
Yeah, we have to eat. We kind of have to plan like 5 business days ahead to hang out. So it works out that way. I know that like people partied and like drank a lot and like kind of took the edge off after like exams and stuff, but I never went, and so I was never invited, so it was fine with me. But when you live near campus, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you could walk home, you could get as drunk as you want.
Yeah, so about that,
Yeah.
one of our teachers owns a bar.
Oh, okay.
And we had a little bit of a get together at the end of the year because she was retiring. So we're like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and just like celebrate with her. And someone, I don't know who, had a little too much and was left in the bathroom for a few hours.
No.
Oh god.
They just woke up and got an Uber home and called it good.
Oh god. Yeah, social life in grad school. It's weird because like in my grad program we had people who were married, engaged, some were single, some had kids, one of my closest friends from the program also, she's like 50, 60. It was her second career. So I'm just like, she doesn't want to hang out and get bubble tea, you know? And a lot of them are active. They like to run. And I was like, I'm not running. Sorry, guys. I'm not running the gas works with you. Yeah, so it was really interesting trying to see kind of like how to fit in and like do activities together. Because I feel like in undergrad, we were all like kind of friends with each other. And what we did was we eat and we drink bubble tea and we sat and hang around and talked, you know? And that's not exactly what everyone in my cohort liked to do. So I was like, well, I'll just do that with my friends that I made from undergrad.
Goofing off.
So that's big.
Goofing off in the ECC.
ECC, yeah.
Yeah. You guys had the benefit of also going to school nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, I only knew one person from UW that went with me,
Uh-huh.
and we barely ever interacted.
Yeah.
Because I was always hanging out with my roommate, and then she was always hanging out with her roommate. It was like more COVID conscious, but at the same time, we both made non-COVID conscious decisions.
Yeah,
So-
that too. So interesting.
It was like, no, we should have hung out more. At the end of the year, it was like, but we just decided not to.
Global pandemic. It's fine.
You hang out with your coworkers? Do
Uh,
you ever hang out with the doctors that you work with? That's always the cool story. So they always tell you like, oh yeah, in grad school, so and so, like your other coworker doctor, like he won't tell you this, but he stripped and ran through the campus.
Yeah, they
like
say
that.
with wild stories. Or like, you know, when I was over in South Africa, and I'm just like, what do you mean? You were everywhere?
Yeah,
like,
doctors have the craziest
did you have that one
stories.
bio teacher, Mr. He had the craziest stories.
Ben Wiggins?
No, he was another one. I already forgot.
Freeman?
Maybe Freeman, not Freeman. He's the one who wrote the textbook.
Yeah, he's the textbook writer for the textbook.
Yeah, this is the older man, round, gray hair, just recently retired, taught higher level biology, like the 400 classes. But I took one of his lower physiology classes. He's the Mennonite guy.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, he was so funny. He was just like, let me tell you about the story. I jumped off a cliff. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, doctor's got the craziest stories. He's like raised by a Mennonite nurse or whatever. A Mennonite, like, I was like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? But he was so cool. I thought he was super cool. Favorite bio teacher ever. Yeah, doctors have crazy stories.
Yeah. So any
Any
anything
cool
from your
doctor
coworkers?
stories? You gotta tell us some doctor
no,
stories.
I
as a
wish.
scribe.
I don't know. I wish. I know a lot of my coworkers hung out with doctors just because they lived in similar areas. Not so much me, unfortunately. It's more just like the crazy stories I hear are more just like stuff happening on shift, at the clinic,
yeah.
which is fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really heard of too much outside of the shift, unfortunately. I hope to be that doctor where I can like. I guess it's another thing like if knowing when you made it is like having a scribe with me or like having a PA, like and being able to like talk to them and like hang out.
Just to tell them like while you're doing something, like, hey, when I was your age and I
Yeah.
was doing this.
Did, yeah. Funny stories. What setting did you scribe in again?
I scribed mainly in the ER.
That's why. That's why I was like, that's why.
Yeah.
They already have stories. They're just happening in front of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh, in the ER.
yeah, ER. And then I also scribed in primary care,
In primary care.
but did mainly ER because we were short staffed there.
They're always short-staffed in the year.
It's true.
Yeah, because my friend, she did it. She's a scribe in, I think, a clinic, so she could hang out and talk to doctors more. That's why I was just like, I mean, I guess you can't talk to doctors, but you're in the ER, so it's like super fast paced.
But on slower shifts, we gotta talk a little bit, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's just like, fuck, this person's dying.
Jen's dying. Yeah.
especially as a scribe, it's like, hey, this person's time, make sure you write that down. I'm like, okay.
You're just like, you have
It's not my fault, make sure you write it down.
It's
Okay.
like at this time they presented with this. They're already having a heart attack. I didn't induce it.
upon arrival, he was 2 minutes in.
Basically.
Yeah, upon arrival.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like there's so much like just having to be like accountable in medicine.
Yeah,
And,
the paperwork. Because
the
I have to do
paperwork.
my own paperwork, so I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't English well. I have to like defend why I'm doing everything in like smart words because insurance people are just, they don't understand what we do. So I'm like, we just have to sound super smart. And I'm like, that's so hard.
and you have to mark everything that you notice.
Yes.
So even if it's like the small benign thing like the freckle on your eye,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be like, oh yeah, I noticed this freckle line. They're like, they saw it, but then it's like if it became cancer in the future, like why did you not think it was cancer? And then you have to go back and like get sued
Yeah.
for something that you had no idea was
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah, I know people who have to go to court, and I was like, oh, good lord. And they have to go back to notes from like 5 years ago, and I was like, good lord, that sucks.
Yeah, 10-year note minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Liability.
Yeah, you have those. You have that in civil engineering as well, right?
Yeah, most, you know how like medicine's like mixed of like legislative laws and common law?
Mm-hmm.
Most like engineering laws, they come from like just court laws.
Mm-hmm.
They came from like the courts. So it means that a lot of like construction engineering and like just engineering itself, it came from trial and error. From a lot of injuries from hundreds of years.
Oh, is it like one of those things where there's like a sign posted up that's like oddly specific that
Yes.
you knew that it
Something
had to have happened?
Yeah.
If this is so oddly
Yeah.
specific.
Most things in construction happen because of that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Or just engineering itself because of that.
Yeah.
It's like trial and error.
It's like, oh yeah, this beam not thick enough.
Yeah, yeah.
That building collapsed. How many people died? Like 30. Be like, ah yeah, we gotta make that beam a little thicker at least.
Or like sometimes like cranes in cities like collapses.
Like the Google one, right?
That was wild.
Man.
the one in Bellevue, there was like another one in Bellevue.
Oh yeah, they hit the game company.
Yeah, and then I think there's another one on there. Oh my god,
First
there's a
Strike
lot of
Games,
crane
I remember
collapses.
that.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, I remember that one. It hit First Strike Games. I'm like, huh, that's kind of ironic. I was also like 10 at the time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, cranes are dangerous.
Cranes are dangerous, but hey, you get paid so much to operate one.
Yeah.
Like what, 200 grand?
Yeah, that's
It's
wild.
more than a doctor pay.
And with like
Yeah, right?
with my job, we just subcontract that to someone.
Oh, yeah.
we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't play
You
with
need,
that.
you need a license for that anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of funny because like for like home improvement stuff, people ask me what to do. I'm like, what? No, do not ask me.
Don't ask him, like, he barely plays Animal Crossing. He hasn't even gotten like a grade level in the home academy. Like he does not know interior design.
My grade's A. I'm just going fishing. I'm just going fishing in the Animal Crossing.
He doesn't decorate anything.
Yeah, but yeah, people ask me for that, and then they're like, "Man, I wish you were an electrical engineer, and you could work on my electric box." I'm like, "No, electrical engineers do not do that.
they do.
Electricians do that.
Yeah.
Electrical engineers don't."
Electrical engineers are theoretical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only apply things when it's a new theory.
Yeah. They make gadgets. They don't fix the gadget already installed.
Yeah.
You hire an electrician to do that. Yeah. Anybody watch this? Do not ask me personally about for small detail stuff.
Yeah, anything that we say and do on this channel is not liable.
Do
Do
not.
not-
They're our own opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're our own opinions. Like pina coladas,
My pina colada on my eye.
even though you don't have one.
Yeah, it's a freckle.
I mean, I think I know how to theoretically build stuff, but I'm not gonna physically do it.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like building it.
I like building things too.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I like building things.
I definitely want to give it to people who are who are qualified and physically building it. Of course.
There's a limit to that, though.
Yeah.
You know, especially even for medicine and things like this. Like, I could do this, or I could have my tech do it.
Yeah.
You know, my tech's not as qualified, but they'll probably really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the thing with balance, because I feel like if you just have only the qualified people do it, pretty soon what happens to the qualified people who are retired or just quit or not available, and no one new can step up. I don't like
Yeah.
bounce.
I know that's happening a lot in the IRS because my cousin works in the IRS. She's saying all the people are leaving, and there's not actually a lot of good benefits working for the IRS, and they don't get paid that much. So they need like more accountants, but accountants make big bucks if you go to like big companies, not the IRS.
They're funny.
Yeah.
So the IRS is gonna probably fall apart in a few years because they're all retiring, and it's like these people have been at their jobs for like 60 years, so they know everything and they don't know what they don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's muscle memory, so they don't know what to teach the next generation. I was like, good lord,
Yeah, they're funding.
gotta go get some GameStop stocks.
That's how
It keeps getting cut.
That's how they. Well, the way they counteract is you get like better benefits, or you give a hiring bonus or whatever.
Yeah, they
and
get
then
none.
You also hire someone to develop a training program. 'Cause
Yeah,
always
that's
do.
what they need.
They always have someone like come and be like, all right, what did you do? And they'll like sit there and like take notes for hours and hours and hours, and then build a program for it. But
Good
it's,
lord. Yeah.
they haven't done it yet,
Yeah, they just need some funding.
or we don't know that they haven't done
Biden.
it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Biden, get some funding in there.
I want to do more Stu stuff.
You want to do one?
No, what? No, wait, what?
I said, what did you want to do?
Come on, Biden, do stuff.
Come on, Biden, let's
Do stuff.
forgive those student loans.
Yeah, student loan forgiveness would be great.
Come through. I might need to start paying them soon.
On the off chance you're watching this video.
You know what he could also do is also give a living stipend for college students.
That would be so nice.
Offset the cost.
Yeah.
Then we can eat healthier, so we can reduce our medical costs.
I know, right?
You know, and then we can also like have incentives to exercise. I don't know. These are all very progressive ideas in the American medical scape.
I know. I'm like, it sounds like a very. I
It
guess
sounds very Swedish.
you can, yeah, you can apply that maybe on the west side in like Seattle and Berkeley, but not anywhere else.
It sounds very Swedish because they do give living stipends and things like that.
Yeah, they care about their community there.
It also costs a lot to live there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could practice anywhere, are you going to stay in Seattle or are you going to choose somewhere
Ooh,
else?
that's a good one. I only speak English fluently. And to do therapy, like at least for me ethically to do therapy, I really have to understand the culture. And how people live at home is a very like cultural thing. And that's why I say like occupational therapy is like so whitewashed, because it's very much, this is how you treat a patient. Because when they go home, they're gonna make toast for breakfast. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't fucking eat toast in the morning. Or it's just like, y'all never cooked rice before. What about the patients who always cook rice? How are you gonna help them with that? And so I feel like just to practice ethically, I have to really understand the culture of the people. And I like, outside of like English speaking like countries, the culture is very like homogenous, you know, and I'm just like, that's a lot of like learning. But I feel like I would be able to practice at places like Australia or like the UK, but Australia got big bugs.
Yeah, it's
And
fine.
UK is also kind of expensive, and it's very like dense. And I kind of like gardens and stuff, so.
You can just live in the countryside.
The countryside,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know about job prospects out there.
Yeah, maybe
Unless I
not.
live in like a retirement city, which is, I guess it's fine, but I feel like it gets boring when you're the only young person there, you know? So it's an option. I would love to practice elsewhere, but I just don't have the language skills for it. Like I would love to go to Japan because everyone's aging there. Holy shit, I would love to
Yeah.
practice in Japan. But that's super Japanese and I can't speak Japanese, and Japanese is a really hard language to pick up.
No, you can. You can. Last year they approved a skilled workers visa.
Ooh.
Remember?
Yeah,
So
I
there's
know
a lot of
that.
people from like Vietnam and like Thailand that went there, and then they learned Japanese on the job.
Holy
but there's
shit.
a lot of OTs
Oh,
and
yeah.
like people who like are basically like geriatric caretakers, like
Yeah.
teaching them how to like eat and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I
you
mean,
could easily do it
that's an
and be
option.
funded for.
I know, right? Thanks, Ming. All right, you fill out the application for me. Come live, come visit me when you want. I know you've had a big Japan trip, so I'm just like, yeah, you know, let me know.
Yeah, that was a very.
That-
I'm
that was
still paying that off.
That was a big.
That was a big trip.
That was a big trip you went on. But yeah, I would like to work in Japan. I mean, that'd be fun. I think I'll just see where my life goes. My mom says I can't move out until I'm married, and I'm just like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna live my life. I think if I have enough like savings, like rainy day funds, I'm just gonna get up and leave.
Or just go anyway and just be in
Yeah,
debt for the
I'll just be like,
few
Mom, there's
months.
no jobs here in America. I have to go to Japan. She'll be like, what the fuck? And I'm like, it's the only job there.
The company's already signed my visa. They've approved. I got a job.
Yeah,
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving. Bye. She's like, what the hell? And I'm just like, konnichiwa. You know, I'm gonna go. But yeah, we'll see. I would love to work somewhere else, but yeah.
The good thing is that your job is recognized in most places.
Yeah, in
Mine's
most places,
not.
most like Western places at least, like more Western side medicine. If you go to a lot of Asian places, they don't really. I think OT plays different roles in different like Asian places. Like I know in Taiwan or Korea, it's very mental health focused and not too much like on the general population. But I know in Japan, it's very general population because U.S. and Japan got their relationships pretty fixed, so they got a lot of influences there. But yeah, I would like to practice somewhere in Asia. That'd be fun.
My job's not recognized anywhere.
Only in America?
America, Canada. It's increased in Australia and UK. I think I can practice. Oh, what was the other country? I can practice in Mexico, I think. But those are like the five
But
main
how do other
countries.
people get glasses?
They have an optician.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have
Which
an
is-
optician.
There's the number 1, number 2 people, which is.
Well, no, the opticians in America, their role is mostly just make the glasses. You know, like know how to prescribe the glasses. Like for us in America, we do know mostly the number 1, number 2 for optometrists who work with an optician.
I see.
But everywhere else, it's ophthalmologists. So like in Japan and China and whatnot, they're all MDs.
I see. There you go. That's the difference when I was just like, what the fuck's
Yeah,
going
they're-
on?
they're the ones that cut the eyes open.
Doctors with eye specialty versus eye doctors. Doctors of eye.
One with a knife, one without.
One with knife, one without. Yes. That was my LASIK doctor. Very sweet. Where would you guys practice?
I don't know if I'd want to practice like permanently somewhere else. I think there was a brief period of time where I wanted to do like Doctors Without Borders or something like that. Like I travel a lot and like help out the countries. Like, 'cause I think like realistically, like America needs doctors, but not as much as some other places do. And I'd like to be able to kind of engage in those communities and those cultures and like really help them out. But at the same time, I think like Faridah, where it's like the cultural barrier is pretty high. I think so. It'd be very not impossible, but very hard for me to go to those places, especially if I don't speak English. And so, I think for now, so I think yeah, it'd be cool to like go on mission trips or something, go on month-long trips or whatever. But for permanent practice, probably stay in the States, not necessarily in Washington, but like somewhere that needs doctors in Washington.
Would you
Or
go to the
in
rural
States.
areas?
Yeah, probably rural areas.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you work with
Country boy?
5 to 10 years in rural areas, you get your loans forgiven or something.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
public forgiveness program. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they need it.
Yeah.
Goodness.
My limit's like Washington, Oregon, mostly Portland. Like just those 2 places. I probably would stick to that.
Stick to those.
Yeah.
I think immediately I want to stick in the general area until I could have like rainy day funds to do whatever I want. Because I don't want to just go out broke and be like, whoops, hey mom, hey dad, can I come back?
You just kind of work wherever, right? They just send you projects.
Yeah.
then
And you
just
could also
design.
even work from like online too, right?
You can
From
be a
home.
digital
Not all the
nomad.
time- Not all the time. Usually, like for me, I think I have to like probably visit at sites. That's why like a lot of like engineering jobs they require like driver's license, so I can go to like different sites. And sometimes like, well, luckily like the company that I work for, it's like in Pacific Northwest. So sometimes I might work in like Seattle as a project, or maybe Bellevue, maybe Issaquah, maybe like just all over in Washington or Oregon maybe. If Oregon, I may have to like temporarily relocate for a project. But yeah, a lot of civil engineering jobs, they tend to move around a lot.
You had a space specifically that you wanted to work, or did I have any?
Like any location.
Yeah, they have a specific location. Like they said, oh, you need to like oversee a project in this area.
Specific location, I would be fine with like maybe like the Seattle Tacoma area, like just around there, like 50 miles. Like, why did I say 50? Excuse me, 25-mile radius away from Seattle. pretty big, but
That
Set the
is
range.
basically from Seattle to Issaquah,
Yeah.
and then Linwood to Tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty big range.
yeah, I don't really mind driving since I've been driving a lot recently. Yeah. But there may be a time where I might move out of the Pacific Northwest, but I'm not sure when that, if I feel like it, because I like it. I like living here. So
I like it here too. It's a good balance of city and nature,
Yeah.
which is what I like. Because a lot of places are just city or just nature. I was like, I like balance.
It's an hour from the coast to the mountains.
Yeah.
Whereas where I live, it's 4 hours from the coast to the mountains.
Forks is yeah.
No, not Forks. No. In the Bay Area.
Yeah, in Berkeley. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have like lush green mountains. You have to
Yeah.
like go all the way to the Rockies for that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
which city in the Bay Area did you?
Berkeley.
Oh, Berkeley. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. Like near Oakland.
Yeah, north of Oakland. Yeah.
My dad used to live. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say that, yeah, my boss was the one that like kind of pushed me to like, you should just explore and like get that worldly view. I was like, all right, California's the closest, the farthest I'm gonna go.
Goes to Berkeley.
Yeah. My dad used to live in Oakland. It was like the first city that he lived in, and then he moved to Seattle. I don't know. He moved all over Texas. Actually, no, California, Texas, Washington. That's about it. He didn't move all over.
Texas is a very popular site for like.
Texas is
Yeah.
growing.
It is.
A lot of people are moving to Texas. All the tech firms are moving there. So much land, so cheap. No laws, no
Yeah,
taxes.
Laws you can buy a gun without a license.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it's crazy. I always wanted to go to Texas to go eat Vietnamese crawfish. They have a big Vietnamese population,
Yeah.
so it's like these Asian-looking uncles with the biggest Texas accent. I'm like, I want to meet these people. Like, it seems so jarring.
You
And I
go
want to
to
meet them.
New Orleans. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive an hour to get to wherever you're going.
That's true. New Orleans.
Yeah.
Nolans.
Not like Houston in terms of area is like the biggest city in the United States in terms of area, not population.
Oh.
Like
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's bigger than LA in area.
Well, because LA is split into a bunch of different cities.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But Houston's huge in area.
Many zip codes.
I had a professor that hated the city of Houston. He kept complaining about it. I don't know why. He's from Texas and he hates Houston.
Civil engineers be
It's
like.
probably from like San Antonio or something.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Texas is really humid and hot.
Yeah.
Like, surprisingly humid for how desert-like it is. Yeah, my old doctor is from Houston, and he's like, yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend living there.
Dang.
They have an optometry school there. He's like, I wouldn't recommend going there.
Yeah. Yeah, we had like that one humid day, like the last weekend. I was like, fuck. It lasted like 2 days, and I was like, fuck, I can't do this right now. But it was like super muggy, and I was like, oh, I can't, humid.
I just remember Sunday. Sunday was raining super hard, but it was hot.
Yeah, it's humid. That was the humid day where it was just like Asian rain, and I'm like, I hate this. It's too much.
Yeah, it was gross. I was like, helping my dad load his truck for his restaurant, like in the back of the canopy. I'm like, in between all the chicken. I'm like, this is way too sweaty for.
I'm like, I'm sweaty. Makes me moist. What's your next question?
I know we keep going on like different tangents.
Yeah.
I love tangents. Tangents are
nice.
hilarious.
If I grew up in sorry.
Go ahead.
If I grew up in Texas, I would have had a southern accent.
Yeah, you
I'm matching
could've-
myself that.
You could have had a southern accent, you know.
Howdy, partner.
How to partner.
Howdy, partner.
Going down to the bar.
We're cowboy food.
Actually, unironically, yeah, you would be wearing cowboy boots.
Yeah, like Eugene from the Try Guys is from Texas, and man, that guy loves his cowboy boots and cowboy hats. And I was like, I thought it was just a trope, but it's real. Like they actually do just love wearing cowboy boots and cowboy hats. And I was like, I love it. Actually, it's Texan culture.
The cowboy hats I understand. Boots a little bit less.
And they got those snake boots, the pointy snake boots. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
This town ain't big enough for two of us.
You can also just unironically have a country accent here as well.
Oh my gosh, no.
Just say
There's so many people in
transplant.
small town
There's so much
Washington.
transplants too.
Yeah, so many people in small town Washington that have like thick country accents. Like even I can pull a country accent, but it usually only comes out when I'm drinking.
It's funny.
Yeah, people will make a joke about something being like country because my friend's from Santa Clarita, which apparently is like a big movie town, and they have
North of LA?
north of LA, and they have like different sections. And there's one part where it's a western, so he's always joking like, "Oh yeah, he's from the desert, and that's kind of where it like relates is the countryside." I mean, we listen to like country music and stuff, like as like our thing to listen to. It's fun. You just have to find like good barbecue. Yeah, that reminds me. Is there good barbecue around here?
There's one in Renton. The one by the one dealership across from Walmart. Yeah, I saw that barbecue place. I haven't tried it yet, but maybe I'll try it soon. But
Do you mean Max Roadhouse?
Maybe. I don't remember what it's called, but I've just seen like the barbecue sign, and I was like, I want to try some good barbecue, like good, like hours long barbecue, you know?
It's kind of funny you're talking about Cajun crawfish or Vietnamese crawfish because like my friends and I are trying to plan a New Orleans trip, and you're like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I really want to see the culture, the people. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to eat some crawfish.
Yeah, I'm just trying to eat as much as I can for as cheap as I can.
Trying to eat some crawfish for Nook Mom. I know. Are we all the kind of people who travel for food? Because I think I love to travel.
Yeah,
I know you're travel for food. And I'm like, I'll travel and plan my life around different places I want to eat.
I don't remember how many food museums I went to in Japan.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how much I ate. I just know that I ate, like, most of the budget was food. I spent more money on food than hotels.
That's good.
flights.
That's good. That's what I want to do. I know Japan food is really good, and I'm like, I can't wait to go.
Yeah, we gotta eat like the crazy stuff. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you're there, you gotta eat like dolphin and
That's
whale.
what my friend said. He's like, would you eat turtle? And I'm like, well, turtle's not halal, but if it was, I would eat it. He had turtle soup, and I was like, what the fuck?
Turtle soup's good.
I was like, what?
It's good for your skin. It's got a lot of collagen.
Lots of collagen, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to eat natto, like actually like good natto.
Oh, the one that comes in the weight,
Mm-hmm.
the hay husk.
Because it's like, I know you could buy it here, but I don't want to ruin my first experience. Because I know it's like not all like natto is like created equally, and I'm like, I want to eat good.
Well,
no.
the frozen stuff is still decent.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not bad.
you just gotta let me know which one you think is a decent one. So I can
I'd have to ask my friend Kaoru and just be like, hey,
which one's a decent one we could buy from what?
yeah. Because he used to shop there, so you should know.
Because I like fermented things, and I feel like natto would be like my taste, but also, yeah, I don't want to ruin it because not all of them are tasting good. Some of them actually just taste rancid, and I'm like, yeah, I want like a good balance of rotten, of fermented.
When I went to Japan a couple years back, I had like they served me raw horse meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
I don't think I've ever tried it for some reason because I think I was like full the time after eating like the dancing squid and the soy sauce.
Oh, yeah.
The soy sauce over. It was kind of freaky at first, but it tasted pretty good.
Yeah, very fresh.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't looked death set in.
Yeah, I always wanted to eat like in Korea. They just have like baby octopus. They wrap it around a chopstick and they eat it. And I was like, I want to try that. It's like fighting your food. You have to chew fast, or else the suckers will get stuck on you.
Yeah. I mean, it is dead. It's just the salt and the soy sauce. Yeah, no, that's the one thing I didn't eat is raw horse. I didn't like take the time to go out and find a horse place because I was already too busy like eating everything else.
Everything else is yeah.
It's good.
Would you say all the food is really good? Like you didn't have one bad meal, or did you have kind of some bad things?
Vegan ramen was very disappointing.
I mean,
The vegan ramen we had, and we're like, we're never having this ever again.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if we're meeting a vegan in Japan, we're not gonna eat here. We're gonna choose something else.
I think it's also because you've had ramen with actual meat in it, so it probably tastes good.
Surprisingly, I only had one ramen that had pork in it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see.
because it was with Soraya. So.
Yeah, I'm a soup drinker, so I never really like ramen because that soup is so thick, and I'm like, this is too much, too much flavor.
Ramen's pretty heavy.
Yeah, ramen's heavy. Can you imagine me? I'm a soup drinker, so I like to drink my bowl of pho, so I don't make it too seasoned. But I get why people over season their pho because they don't drink the soup, so they just have the flavor clinging to the noodles. And I'm like, yeah, that's not me. I'm trying to drink this. It's good. Ooh, what are other things you guys want to eat in the future from around the world?
Oh,
I want to go to Thailand and eat actual pad thai.
Oh, I've been to Thailand before. I never had the pad thai, but I had like this like spicy like.
Everything there is spicy.
Spicy. Yeah, excuse me. I didn't even ask for spicy, and it was
Yeah,
spicy.
You'll have to be like, I'm American, please.
American, please.
Please do
Like-
have the spicy.
Say it as American as you can. I'm American.
I'm American. I can't handle spice.
You can't have
Like
spicy.
chili, no chili.
I'm allergic to chili.
Now that's a little bit. they'll question that one. They'll be like, and you're in Thailand, of all places.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think the next thing I want to try is like more unusual stuff. I feel like there's not enough unusual food here.
In Cambodia.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Because they have to cater to the American food, you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what was the most unique thing I've had recently.
I said in Cambodia with a southern accent, accidentally. So, oh my god, in Cambodia. Oh my god.
You're gonna unironically have a country accent
Shit.
starting today.
Shit. Okay, in Cambodia, oh my god. There's like fried tarantulas.
I've had a tarantula before.
Yeah.
I never had them, but my brother had them. He said the legs tasted okay, but the body was bitter and kind of gooey.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Your last questions.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you want to tie this all together? Because it's been a lot of random.
It's all
things.
it's like tangent.
I feel like the first half was like well focused, and then it started like.
And I'm like, what do you guys want to eat? That's me always hungry.
Let's clear it up.
Texas.
You guys want to eat?
That's kind of how these videos go, and that's kind of how like they go, just like very casual conversation. As long as you hit those proof points. And so I guess the last question, I talked to you guys about this earlier, but like any advice you guys have for people either graduating college or high school, or just kind of in that transitionary phase between school and life?
I mean, you already had some on your idea, right?
Oh yeah, just do something. If you have an idea of what you want to do, think about the steps that lead up to it and do one of the steps. You know, because it just gets the ball rolling, and it's okay if you mess up because everyone messes up. So you just have to just do it. Like, not to be Shia LaBeouf, because he has been doing questionable things past recently.
Yeah.
But if you don't do something that is a step towards what your goal is, you're gonna end up needing to take more time to get to your goal. And if you want to really make it to that goal, you want to just take every chance that you can to make it a priority. You know, like for things like studying, like I want to pass this class. It's not going to help if I say, oh, I'll do this later and I'll study later, because I think we've all have had some experience of, it's the night before, I have not started yet. So just do it.
Just do it. I like it. To bounce off of Wing, do something that is going towards your goal, as in kind of like think about like what is the value behind your goal. So kind of like me going into therapy, I like working with people, I like helping people, those things like that. I had one of my terrible rotations, and I just kind of had to rethink my whole life. Like, what if like this OT thing isn't for me? Like, what other steps can I go towards my goal? And that would be kind of, I considered other fields, such as like being a nurse for a little bit, or like a certified nursing assistant, just to have that experience, you know? Some experience is better than no experience, you know? Like if you're applying to grad school, yeah, take a gap year as you can, but then if you don't get into programs, then think about working at a job that has like all the qualities and values that will help you in the future in that career, such as being a CNA or working with people, program director, those kinds of things. Think about like all the skills and lessons you can learn from specific jobs that can help you become the best version of yourself that you want to be. Hope that made sense.
Bouncing off of everything that's been said, I think my like main advice would be just like do whatever y'all want to do, and also think about if it's like worth it to your goals. Because I gotta say, in my opinion, I don't think like I think college is a worthwhile experience for a lot of people, but it's not really made for everyone. Same with like grad school.
Yeah.
And I think just like sometimes it's good to like pause and think like, am I going the right direction? And if like what you're doing is like worth everything that you want to do.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to kind of say, like, if you are going to college because you want to have a good job to make money, there's other ways to make money. And I think it's totally okay to want a job to make money and not to like have life fulfillment. Not everyone is in like a privileged spot to understand like, this is what I value, this is what makes me happy, and here's a career that fits exactly that. Some people will take like extra, like a decade or two. It's kind of crazy how people just assume that when you're 18 you can figure out the rest of your life by going to college. Some people figure out the purpose of their life when they're 30 or 40 or 50, you know? If you just work and you have money and it sustains the lifestyle you want to live, don't feel bad about that. You know, I feel like some people go out of high school and then they work just a regular job, but it's enough for them to live, and it gave them enough time to kind of explore what matters to them and like discover different career paths. That's also like a very valid experience for people who are like coming off of high school or even off of college. Your undergrad degree, honestly, I feel like undergrad degrees are like the new high school degree. Like it's the minimum to get a job at Costco's to have an undergrad in something, which is insane. And so people think of the next step, which is like grad school. And grad school was not built to support first generation BIPOC people. Like it was never built to support us. It was built to support students of other like children of other graduate level professionals. And so at least like on the undergrad level, it's a lot more like open to the public and anyone could kind of like make your dreams there. But when you get to the grad school level, I mean, Ling and we talked about it off camera, but a lot of the people in our programs have parents who are doctors and professionals that were in grad school already. So that's the like population that is in grad school, are people who have people in their family, their parents, their siblings have been through grad school already. So it's a very tough environment in grad school. And if you're going to grad school thinking you want to make money, and a lot of money, it's not going to be enough to get you through it. You know, cannot imagine people who are like, I want to be a doctor because it pays well. I asked Michael how much a family doctor gets paid. And I'm like, what in the world? That doesn't get paid well. And you have so much debt. I'm just like, what in the world is that? So I think just go any path that helps you get through it. And it's okay if you want to just make money. Look into other jobs that make money with whatever skill sets you have. Depends on you if you want happiness or money. Sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes you need money before you get happiness. And sometimes you'll have happiness before you have money. It's kind of everyone's different journey.
Yeah, leverage wealth to make change for you or anyone else that you want to make change for. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on this channel. For Michael Lowe and for everyone else here, we thank you.
Alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Didn't even need the outro. Thanks for watching, guys.